Hello and welcome to Friday's show of Alienate UK with myself, Nicole, and our guest, the wonderful Adam Butler. It's Butler's DMT Field Guide. Thank you for joining.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this for so long, and I know for a fact there's people in the chat that would not miss this for the world. Mm-hmm. They really wouldn't.
I know, we talk about it like every episode.
We do, and it's just, yeah.
That's how DMT finds you. It really, when and if needed, it starts calling you. It will truly fall in your lap, like whether it be the book that you're holding right now, or there's a million examples of how that happens.
There you go. Yeah.
So proceed with caution, but proceed.
Yeah. But the way you, like I was saying to you off air, the way you've wrote it, it's similar to how Dawn Lester, another friend of Brandon, the way she's wrote her book on what really makes you ill. It's a go-to book. You don't have to read it in any particular order. It's just you open it and it's there. Everything is there. Quick flick through, you can find the next thing you're looking for. It's just awesome. It really is. But my favorite page is page 56.
Oh boy, what is that?
What you need to make DMT. The actual recipe. So
I know this because of how many times we referenced page 56.
I reference
it. Oh, geez, that's cool. It's going to become like a cult classic, page 56 of the Field Guide.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great point, though. So it's so easy to make. It's all natural ingredients. That is not my recipe. That's something that's found on the internet. It's all over the place. But I put it in there because as powerful as this molecule is, it's something that is accessible to everybody. And if I may, just to kind of get this out of the way, kind of disclaimer, and I did start the book with this, psychedelics are not for everybody. DMT is certainly not for everybody. Before I even started thinking about exploring DMT, I studied as much research as I could for months and months. I started with shrooms and took that very cautiously and got comfortable in the psychedelic space. But, there are other ways to get the results of the therapy that I was able to get and other methods. The weird, cool shit like interacting with DMT entities and having all that, the crazy experiences. Obviously, you have to do DMT to do that. But it is one of those things where give it the respect and reverence that it deserves. And if you do that, you can have an amazing experience. But this disclaimer, it is definitely not for everybody.
No, I totally get that, because I was offered it quite a few years back now, and I turned it down because I mentally wasn't ready to do anything like that. So I've never done anything, like never done acid, never done mushrooms, never done anything like that. But for some reason, and it's before I even knew who you was, DMT, it was calling me. And it's just sounds, I don't know does it sound stupid? It just seems to be getting stronger and stronger, and like the connection's getting greater. So I'm like, it's inevitable for me. That's what it seems at the moment, anyway. So, but I just need to find that exact right time to go on that journey.
There's a lot of great information out there, and my book is certainly not the end all. If anything, I wrote it because it was to ideally start asking more questions after reading that, and then get exposed to the the Rick Strassmans and the Terrence McKennas, and like Andrew Gallimore's doing some incredible work in that space. That there's a lot of really deep academic scientific minds that have spent years and years on this stuff. But I appreciate your compliments. My book was really to make it approachable, accessible, just to and get at it from a perspective that's not the academic white coat type. And I can talk that way. And I was, a trained scientist, so to speak, in a previous life. But it's more just the normal guy who had everything in his life blown up. And now, 3 years after being exposed to it, everything in my life has changed for the better. And I am the most happiest, content, joyful, blissful person I've ever been. I still have a bunch of bullshit that I'm working out, and my life is certainly not perfect. But my entire perspective, my self-knowledge, my self-love, all of that stuff stemmed from exposing myself to DMT, which then, remove the veil of all the horseshit that society puts on us. But
yeah,
it still scares me. Like, I want to do it on one hand, like, cause
the
cool mechanic gnomes, whatever. But like on the other hand, I am terrified of what the hell is going to come out of it.
Well, have you
get a little bit of that? Yeah.
My recommendation and how I got into it, and I've heard this before from other people, is I think starting with shrooms is a nice, easy way, because you start getting comfortable in the psychedelic space, and not that they're the same, but you get comfortable with the sensations, other than your normal five senses. You get to feel what it's like to kind of be disconnected from your physical body, and then you can kind of push it from 1 grams to 2 to 3 to 4. I was starting to get into like 7-8 gram doses, so I was pushing that pretty heavily, and at that point I had felt comfortable that I can take it to the next level. But it will, to your point, it will shatter every foundational belief that you have, and it will reconstruct the most profound aspects of your belief system. But in my case, like, I needed that. I needed everything to be reconfigured, because I was at the point where I was getting ready to give up. But
yeah,
it's it can also make things that much more beautiful. And like, if your life is fantastic, it's only going to be more fantastic. Like, if you have amazing love for your kids, DMT will make you just express it that much more. If you have an amazing friendship or spouse, you're only going to be that much more interested in making the relationship better and deeper. But if you've got like you said, it may be scary. Some people need to go through some scary shit, and they need to face their demons and do their shadow work. And you can't lie to yourself when you're on shrooms or DMT. So
yeah.
Be prepared.
No, see, I like that analogy, because it's true. But you're saying about it waking you up and it will shatter some of your dreams. But without going too political, I think the government are doing a good job of that anyway. So it doesn't really matter. We just running alongside it. But no, I know what you mean though, with like your own beliefs of just everyday life. But I think it needs some of that. Not for everyone, but a lot of it needs opening up anyway, for us to see what's really going on.
Yeah, excuse me. I use the analogy of plaque, where it's like society just has loaded up so much plaque on most people, and I think it's like a twofold issue, where not only you can't shine your inner light and beauty and uniqueness and your artistic creativity and your love and connection, but you also can't receive that beautiful universal light, whether it be from God, from Source, from whatever you want to call it. But that barrier just really prevents people from being them true selves. And whether it be mechanical removing, chemical removing, a combination of both, it's so freeing and liberating when that plaque is removed, and then you just instantly know it's like you've shed all of that bullshit, and you can then now proceed life with a clear perspective. And but I had, up until I was 41 years old, I was covered in plaque, like fucking alcoholic, overweight, narcissistic, mean, like all this crazy shit was built up on me. So it's nice when I see the younger generation. There seems to be a lot of them that don't have that plaque and have the realization. And I think there's a lot of people my age and older that are realizing that they can't keep living all pent up and pissed off and angry. And DMT can certainly remove the plaque.
Yeah, my thing is, like, I've had a kind of like hallucinogenic experience, but I'm too logical. So the whole time I was just thinking, I'm like, all right, well, this is because I'm high. And this is because I'm high. And these things that I'm experiencing, I know why. And I just kind of talked myself out of it. So I need to just let go.
That will not happen with DMT. I guarantee it. So are you familiar with shrooms, or have you ever done any psychedelics?
No.
So, like, if you're on shrooms, and you're going to have some wild shit and crazy interactions, and you can still talk to like entities and things like that on shrooms, but you know that your consciously is there, and you're looking at your environment through your senses that are altered. When you do DMT, you're blasted into this other space, in this other realm, where it is not created by your own mind. It is not like, oh, this is because I watched a movie 2 days ago, or you are in another space, and your logical mind will have no ability to make any rational logic out of anything you see in that space. which again puts everything into perspective, because it's like, what the fuck is this? How? And this is kind of where I've kind of been refining my theory, I guess, over the last, few years, is that I really just think once you elevate your frequency or elevate the ability to receive different vibrations, you can just tap into different levels of information. And all information is encoded in vibrational energy, and it's just a matter of kind of refining and tuning our antenna. And there's so many ways to do it: through deep meditation, through prayer, through tantric exercises. Psychedelics, certainly one of them. I mentioned how I just got back from the Monroe Institute. That certainly is a way to do that. But I don't think it can be disputed now that there is valid information in the DMT space, lucid dreams, people that are in comas, near-death experience. These people that are having alien encounters, people that are interacting with cryptids. I think this stuff is really happening, and it's because these people are able to elevate their vibration or their antenna, or however you want to look at it, where their consciousness is now able to be more refined and sensitive. And you can see some crazy shit. But if I could just, the last on that thought, with the other psychedelics, and even like if you're using like drugs or something like that, or even lucid dreaming, your senses get dulled and they get warped, and they get you can tell you're kind of getting poisoned when you're doing shrooms. Like, you can feel it going through your blood, and you're like, oh shit, this is ready to hit. With DMT, it's completely different. It really is like the veil is being removed. It's very innate and natural. The first time that I did it, and that was one of the kind of weird things, is that it was a very familiar taste. It was a very familiar sensation. Like, there was this weird nasal cavity feeling that was something that had happened before. And as crazy as it is, and as nuts as your senses go, you feel like you're really seeing the world truly as it really is, not in some psychedelic, warped, fucked up space. It's like, no, this is okay. This is really here.
So do you think, right, so I've got a question for you on this, and this is what I've just done a lot of thinking. I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've done a lot of reading on DMT, not just DMT, but other psychedelics as well. But is it, so because your physical body cannot get to these other realms, dimensions, so with DMT, it opens them up so your spiritual self can actually travel through to where these different places are?
Are you asking me that? Or are you saying that?
Well, so, they're both.
Yeah, and this is where, it takes some study and some practicing, but I think there's many ways of proving that we are way more than our physical body. And we do have an electrical field, an electromagnetic field. We have auras, we have astral bodies, we have energetic bodies, we have emotional bodies. All of these things are able to, in my opinion, receive and interact with information on their own level. So I want to clarify though, you still can, and there's kind of like there's multiple kind of stages of a DMT trip. Like, and this is where, one hit is way different from 2 hits, is way different from 3. If you can get to that 4 or 5, or push it to that 6 or 7, that's when you can really, blast off. But you still have feelings over your body. You're still, that's one of the beautiful things. If anything, you feel every cell, every pulse, every synapse firing in your brain. I have the chapter in the book about transcendental sex, where me and my girlfriend use it as part of our intimate routine. So you definitely still feel and interact your body. If anything, you get an appreciation and love of your body, because you have such a more intimate feeling with it. But you are able to get through, and whether you call it having a breakthrough, or you blast off, or you actually enter into that DMT realm, there is a point where, and instantly within the first hit, you get this vibratory hum, where it's almost like you feel this energetic field surrounding you, and it's this really consistent, steady vibratory hum. As that gets more elevated in a higher pitch, you kind of get higher and higher and higher up, and then you kind of blast into this space, and then you're like, oh fuck, I'm there. And now, after doing it now hundreds of times, my interaction when I get there has changed from, it's been a whole range of interactions, but there is a level where your body, you do kind of become disassociated from your physical body. You do have that. So I don't want to use the term like ego death or anything like that. You are able to see though that you can separate your different levels, and you can kind of put your psyche and your ego and all that shit into different levels and different aspects. But yes, a lot. You pretty much just kind of sit back and enjoy the show. But well, there's levels and layers to it.
Yeah. So I know you said like it's been different each time, but how would you compare from the first time you did it to, say, not so much the last time, but a few times into it?
So my experience is going to be probably different than most. That first day that I was exposed to it, and I think it's important to mention again, I prepared months and months in advance. So a friend of mine knew that I had access to it. He knew what in a shitty, dark place that I was. He knew that was was one of the last things that could potentially help me. So it was something that we had planned. Hey, this is going to happen. It was a Tuesday, and we're gonna, we had the house, and is pretty much as much as I needed. So that first day, I took like 50 hits, and like that's more than most people would ever take in a lifetime. But I spaced that out over about 7-8 sessions, and each session was like 5, 6, 7 hits. So that day alone, there was a massive progression of experiences, and it's ended with my first breakthrough experience, where that was really where I had this perspective shift, where everything truly changed. And then from there, it's morphed into a lot of weird shit. But I guess I can give you the rundown pretty quickly. That first day, so that first hit, like I mentioned, it was your senses all start going wacky. So you start getting like the spinning mandala effects. You get the vibratory hum through your body. You can tell that clearly something's going on. What I mentioned, like I said, it was very natural, very innate. I felt very comfortable. I wasn't scared. I felt like this is, like I said, I was kind of like receding and remembering a normal, more natural state, as fucked up as it was. I took like, I think it was 3 hits that first time. And it really was just this cool kind of 3D IMAX, like cinema show. And I just kind of sat back and experienced it, but no talking, no interaction, no entities, certainly no profound breakthroughs. Pushed it a little bit further the second time, pretty much the same thing. Third time, pretty much the same thing. It was really just sights and sounds and really cool shit. I started pushing a little bit further, and I started having kind of the interactions, and it was kind of like I was really in the space, but still no talking, nothing coming up and being like, yeah, Adam, I heard you're here to get some profound insight. So now this is like, an hour plus into it, and I'm starting to get beat up mentally. And each time, and I want to preface this, each time I really was having intention, I was saying prayers of gratitude. I was really going at it with the intention of therapeutic relief. And again, I needed to save my life. That last session, I again pleaded with the universe, like, please, I need some answers. And I pushed it hard. I did like 7-8 hits, and I was just launched into this space where instantly everything stopped. All the sights and sounds stopped. All the vibratory hum stopped. It was just this instant, like, floating in space, not falling, like just floating with no type of sensational input. But there was like this download of information that basically answered all of my proverbial questions, and it answered everything that was keeping me, and we're all going to have our own subjective shit. And if you make it to 40 years old, we're all going to have our shit. But it was able to put it into a context where it was so beautiful, because I came out of it and I just realized that I had the power to change where I'm at right now and change my future, that I'm spending way too much energy in the past and in the future, that I need to be here in the now, that I was looking for, external solutions to my internal problems, and that I was going to be the answer to that. And it was a lot of these kind of basic things. It's not like they told me like, oh, who built the pyramids or whatever, this is how you can go win $1 million. It was really just basic life shit that switched everything in perspective, where again, I couldn't lie to myself. I had everything shown to me that I needed to see. And I came out of that really like a crumpled mess on my friend's floor, just being like, oh shit, I've got a lot of work to do. But now the spotlight was shown exactly where that work was. Like it found the crack in my psyche that needed filling. It filled it, and then now I could move on and then become the man that I needed to be, and not the shell full of plaque and all that fucking nastiness before. But yeah, so that first day was an experience in itself. And then
groundbreaking, I suppose.
Yeah, life-saving, groundbreaking, perspective shifting. And then, from there, I've had the whole gamut of the alien interactions, the cool DMT jester entities, to I've had interactions with what I considered my future self. I've had some really, really crazy, fucked up experiences and information. But yeah, I'll let you.
Yeah.
Did you have to get else?
Yeah, so I think everybody's going to use different language. I think it's common though that there's a very familiar theme or ambiance or flavor to the space that you go into. So there's a lot of times there's this very carnival, jestery, elfy. Like I had one time when I went into it and I instantly had these things circling around me and they kept basically like kicking me in the ass and they were laughing, being like, yeah, Adam's back, and kicking me in the ass in a good, positive way, but in a very kind of like, little kid, like little brother type interaction. But then there's been the very stern, profound, like, yeah, you need to listen. There's been the, the feminine kind of sexual energy. There's been the feminine, like motherly, nurturing energy. There's been, like I said, the one that was really also kind of put things in a weird perspective was the one where I said I felt as though I did interact with my future self, and it was, it wasn't me with a grayer, longer beard or older. Again, it was just a familiar sense that, oh, this is me, this is my energy. I'm here to check in, kind of do a diagnostic check, and this had happened prior to that, but this kind of really secured it. Was that you just have a lack of fear of death. Like, I'm not afraid of dying at all. I'm very comfortable to know that my energy and consciousness will carry on into whatever the next state is. But yeah, that was a profound, like, come out of it and be like, what the fuck just happened? But
it's like, just quickly, Nicole was saying about being scared. I'm a bit about doing it, but reading the first chapter of your book, I don't want to give too much away or go too deep into it. But if it wasn't for DMT, you would not be sat here now, pretty much.
Yeah, to my own making. And I want to, and that's why I think it's important too to tell my story, because I was really the guy that was raised with the silver spoon in my mouth. I had every possible advantage growing up. I had amazing parents, awesome, great grandparents. I was gifted a shit ton of money when I was 18 to start businesses. I had owned a bunch of homes. I was really, I had everything any guy could ever imagine. But I mentioned quickly, and I'm definitely beyond beating up myself again. But I was, again, a hardcore alcoholic, which I'm coming on 4 years being sober now. So that's a really big part of my story as well. But just mean, belligerent, nasty. I had that plaque that was just so built up, and I got kicked out of my house. I got a restraining order. So this, like, 3 or 4 things happened in a matter of like a month, a year and a half, where like one relationship blew up. I quit my high paying job. I got in another great relationship that blew up. I found another better job that was making even crazier money, doing even less. But then one of the guys that I worked with screwed me over $900, and I threatened to kill him. And I was really I was clearly on wit's end. At that point, $900 was fucking nothing. But I was just so like, how dare you do that to me? And that was on a Sunday that I threatened to kill this guy, and he lived like 2 blocks from me, and he was co-owner of the company I worked for. So I knew that my whole life at that point needed to change. So I woke up the next morning and I was like, you know what? I'm driving to California to hug a redwood tree. And I just packed a backpack and just took off. And I spent like over a year, close to a year and a half, just traveling the country. I lived in my car. I lived on beaches. I went in all these fancy hotels, and I just, like pissed through like 70, 80 grand to do my spiritual journey. And I was fortunate enough to do that. But I really want to preface it with, I know how blessed I was to be able to take the time to do that, to have the money, to have the background and all that. But I think a lot of people think if they just have money, if they just have the houses, if they just have the hot women, if they just have the cars, like I had all of that shit. If you're not comfortable in your own skin, and if you don't love yourself, and if you don't know how to be calm, you're going to have a meltdown like I did. And so like DMT was put kind of right in the, like at the end of all of those crazy things happening. And it gave me the kind of clarity to just change my whole focus on everything, not have it geared towards money, not have it geared towards things, and really just spend now the rest of my life kind of exploring consciousness and being true to myself. And I'll never be the mean, nasty jerk that I was to a lot of people. So, but yes, it did save, and I don't say that like it's not, and especially now coming up on holidays, like we just got finished with Thanksgiving over here in the States, and we got, obviously Christmas coming up, and there's a lot of people that are in a really, really dark, shitty place, and I think they can benefit from hearing stories like mine, where there's another way, there's a better way, and it's not a self-destructive path. And like I said, whether it be DMT or meditation or prayer, or there's a bunch of ways of getting there, but however you need to get there, get there. Because it's way better on this side than on that dark, nasty side when you're looking at your demons. But if I could, you said you were scared about maybe, and you have like that proverbial bad trip. You will see some scary shit. You will see some demons, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not like horror movie where you're getting chased and you're like, oh God, scary, like, scary clown type shit. It's more the stuff that you've been sweeping under the rug your entire life, the stuff that you've been lying to yourself, the stuff that you need to handle. And it's not a bad trip. To me, those are the trips that you need to have. That's like all of your indicator lights, all of your diagnostics that'll let you know exactly where you're at. You can finally see them truthfully. And that's empowering if you can actually take the knowledge that's being shown to you.
Yeah, just like facing your own fears, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All the scary monsters can chase me as long as it's not me chasing.
Yeah, but that's that's what you need to. But you know what the beauty of that though is, like, and this is not, I don't want to come off sounding like cocky or arrogant, but it's like, I'm not afraid of any man or any woman or any situation or any event or anything, because I know that I'm my worst enemy, but I also know that I'm my biggest advocate. And there's nothing scarier than the demons that know all of my history, all of my cracks, and all of my bullshit. But I've sat down with all of them. I've confronted all of them face to face. I've wrestled with them. And it's not a matter of like, oh, forget about them, shut up, don't ever talk, don't forget about your history. It's letting them have their place, letting them have their say. If shit hits the fan, I want some of my darker aspects to be able to come back and be there to protect me and my loved ones. So it's not like don't ever have those personality traits come out again. It's just put them in the right compartment in your brain. And I think that's what psychedelics do, is it allows a new compartment of your brain to be formed, to put in your own stress, your own trauma, your own loss. It builds a new place so you don't have shit just rattling in your brain nonstop, which can drive people crazy.
Yeah. So with you saying that, the way I now see it is, you face your own demons, but you do it one at a time. It's not all at once. It's not a big group of them coming at you. Is that right?
Well, both me and we mentioned our mutual friend Brandon. So any I guess he's been on the show a bunch, right? So Brandon Thomas has an amazing story of how he confronted his demons and his monsters. And in his particular case, he truly had what he thought and saw was a physical like monster behind him. He had somebody, and it's horrible to fucking like even recount his story, because I love him like a brother, and to know that he went through this type of pain, where he was, having somebody basically tell him, oh, you're going to kill yourself today. Today's the day. Like today, you're going to kill yourself. And it was finally when he turned around and truly gave that monster the FU, that he was able to move on. I remember very distinctly. So when I went on after threatening to kill that guy, and I got in my car, and I knew that whatever, I wasn't worried about money. I wasn't worried about getting a job again. I just knew I needed to figure shit out. And, I spent a lot of time thinking about a lot of aspects of my life, but there was a very clear time in Vegas when I was there, and I remember being in the hotel room, and I thought physical entities there, like, my pretty blue eyes turned fucking red. I had something take over my body that was not me, and it scared the shit out of me. And I know that is the most frightful thing that I can ever fight, and not some, devil from some Bible or some whatever. Like, that's the shit. But now that I know what it looks like, I can call it by name and I can say, nope, I've already fucking battled you. Like I won, man. That's empowering because it puts all other battles in my life in perspective, knowing that I beat the shit out of the demon that was here to take me out. And it's not easy, but once that happens, like you look at the smile of me and Brandon, you look at the smile when him and I are together, and it's like, there's nothing that can fucking touch us. Like spiritually, physically, whatever. Like it doesn't matter because you've battled the hardest things that you can possibly battle. Yeah. And it's not another person, it's not another thing, it's not an outcome or something.
But like I said, when we was off air, it's like when Brandon comes on, what he has us doing before we go live. It's just, I'm not going to tell anyone because it's our thing, but it is pretty cool. We just like for a minute, and it's just, and it gets us ready, and it's like it's there. But like you said, the way he smiles, the way he puts it all forward, exactly the same as you're doing it now. It's just, I'm buzzing off this now. I don't know if you can tell.
Well, so
you don't even need the drugs, Andy.
No, it feels like I'm on them.
Well, so a couple things. You definitely don't need them. And one of the cool things about DMT is that it is endogenous. So it is naturally produced in your own body. And we do naturally produce it. So we can get our own kind of DMT buzz. But to your point, you don't need to go through this dramatic restructuring of your brain with psychedelics. You can really just understand some basic things like how to be full of gratitude, how to be in just a feeling of love and joy. And it sounds kind of corny to say, but that really is how a quality of life can come out of all of this. And it just becomes very, very easy and very, very natural.
Yeah, I think it's more that because I didn't say to you before, but I've been meditating now for quite a while, and I always try and do a astral projection when I go to sleep. But I still cannot get past the vibration stage. I'll be there, and I can feel like it feels like I'm vibrating inside, but I'm not physically moving. And I get to that, and then I don't pass out, but it's that same kind of sensation. I'll get to the vibration, and the next thing, it's the next morning I'm waking up. And I don't know what's gone on in between. I don't remember any dreams. I don't remember nothing. It's just solid night's sleep.
Well, I think the beautiful thing there is that you're taking the time to meditate. You're taking the time to explore these different altered states, and with practice, I would say you'll get there. A couple cool things. If I love using DMT right before bed when I know I'm going to fall right asleep. And so I feel like I can lucid dream pretty easily and pretty consistently, where most times when I go into a dream state, I'm interacting, and it really is almost kind of like a whole nother like living life. But if you do DMT right before bed and kind of know that, all right, I'm just going to stay in it, because that DMT blast only lasts 6, 7, 8 minutes tops. So it's really cool to do it, shut your eyes, and then just fade off into sleep. And it's almost like you have this prolonged lucid dream experience that lasts the whole night, because you're going to sleep already in that space. Your brain's already at the wavelengths that it needs to be. And then you can kind of just continue on with it. And then, and I'm sure at some point we'll rant into it, the technology that Monroe Institute has, where it's the binaural beats and the frequencies, they can elevate you to they have all these different focus levels. And there are definitely focus levels that will get you to have that separation that you're looking for pretty easily. And it helps. Like, it really does help.
Well, with you saying about the, you told me that you're going to the Monroe Institute. You said about coming on after you've been there, because obviously we're going to dip into that as well. But there's a guy that I know, Scottish guy called Chris Meek, who does Scottish Paranormal Podcast. And he sent me some of the audio clips of the Robert Monroe sounds.
Hemisync,
Yes, I think he sent me 7 or 8. And obviously you've got to listen to it with the headphones on. And that's how because I kept trying to meditate using different techniques, and nothing was quite working. And then he sent me these. So I tried a couple of hours, just put them on when I got in bed, just turn the lights out, just not try and go to sleep, but lay there and listen to it. And the sounds that were coming through, it's like, and that's where I started feeling the vibrations. And then I kind of went back to what I was trying to do before, and with the isochronic tones and binaural beats as well, and put that into it. And then same again, it'd start doing it again. So it's like, right, I know where I'm going, but I'm just hitting that.
Well, it's scary.
And it's annoying.
It's a natural like survival response where it's like coming up to a cliff and like you're just looking at the edge. It's kind of like a leap of faith to be able to jump, and it's pretty natural to fight that. But
yeah.
And it is, it's a weird, topic to be like, oh, I'm trying to separate my body, freaking energy bodies. But
I think I've done it once or twice. Once I was stood outside a tall grey concrete building covered in moss. I could feel the breeze. I could smell the fresh air. I was touching the stone. And as soon as I realised what I was doing, it just felt like I'd been pulled backwards, like you see in the cartoon.
Yeah, and the next thing, fucking weird.
and then I'm sitting up in bed. I'm like, shit, I want to go back. And
when was that?
Not get back.
Like how long was that?
What do you reckon? Because I spoke about this before. About 4 during the summer, so about 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah, so it's I would say the common thing that I've learned through a lot of this stuff is everybody can do it. That's kind of the take home message too. Is we as humans are this magnificent machine that can do some really, really crazy shit. Like we have way more than our 5 senses. We have way more than just what we're the normal walking state presents itself. And that's why I think like in anybody looking to do DMT should familiarize themselves with Rick Strassman. He was kind of like one of the pioneer researchers that had this really big study in the 90s. His first book, The Spirit Molecule, and he actually just came out with a new one. I haven't read it yet, but I heard it's pretty good. Everybody was coming out saying that it's more real than real, and that's why they're calling it like the spirit molecule. Like everybody kind of had this like coming to God moment. And the way and so did I, and so did everybody that I've ever talked to that's had it. And I think that the kind of easy way to describe it is that you get so many more data points because you have so many more senses, and not like your original 5 senses are tuned way up. So if you're normally walking around at the dialed up at 10, you're going in and they're dialed up to fucking thousands, millions. But then you have all of these other senses that I don't have a name for, and and that's kind of the thing is how do you describe something that doesn't have a name, that you don't like, you're receiving information in a different way than your normal 5 senses, and you have multiple ways of doing that. So normal walking state in a 7-minute blast or a 7-minute walk in the woods, you'd get 100 data points. Doing that on DMT, you're going to get millions of data points. So like, how can it not be more real? How can it not be more vivid? How can you, and it's real information. So like once you see that, you can't unsee it. Like you can't now just come back. Like once you've seen an alien or a ghost or whatever, you can't just act like nothing happened. So it's like, now that I know that is out there and my body's this tuned or powerful, it's like, oh shit, like the potential's endless.
Do you think that has something to do with the way that you perceive time on DMT as well? Like how much information you're able to take in?
Time becomes very malleable, and time becomes something that, I've had a lot of experiences where I don't think time is linear. Like I said, I feel as though I've interacted with my future self, but I've also had some kind of weird, like past life kind of type shit. But I think, what you're asking too is there this weird separation of time where, I feel like one time, I came back out of a 7-8 minute blast, and I remember saying to my girlfriend, like, I feel like I learned more than my 7 or 8 years in college in that 7-8 minutes. Like everything just compiled, and it's kind of like again, how do you like describe these things? Like a DNA download or a consciousness upgrade, or it's not like somebody speaking English and lecturing to you being like, now you need to learn this angle, and then it'll tell you that. It's just you get these downloads, uploads, up and until and maybe this would be a good way to talk about one of the weirder aspects. So I felt as though up until a couple months ago, and actually I was looking at the email that I sent you, kind of our last correspondence, and I remember being oh fuck, something weird just happened. So typically through all these experiences, I feel like I'm getting like a download or a software upgrade, and I'm learning new information, or an entity will come in and it'll tell me how to truly use my body. So it'll tell me how to breathe. It'll tell me how to pulse my blood better. It'll tell me how to get my brain to, remove all the, or pulse different neurotransmitters. Like, so it's cool. I have a lot of interactions where they come in and really tell you how to use your body, and you come out of it with a much better understanding of who you are and how your body works. Well, this one time, it scared the fucking shit out of me, because instead of having like a software upgrade, I felt as though I had like a hardware upgrade, where something came, or it was the closest thing that I could ever describe as an alien abduction, where I mentioned how you normally open your eyes and you go all these crazy sights and sounds. So like my room is very comfortable and set up for that. So I'm very comfortable looking with my eyes open. I'm very comfortable laying in my bed with my eyes closed. This was not that. As soon as I blasted off into DMT space, I was sucked like out of my room into this place that wasn't just me. Like my body was removed to some place, and I really felt as though I had a hardware upgrade, like some hot, like skin. This is fucked to like talk about, but like I felt like some hot skin came up through the bottom of my feet, went all the way through my body, and I could like feel it and see it as it was absorbing or interacting with all of my, I felt like my nervous system came up through my head and then back out through my feet. And there was this really distinct, like metallic burnt metal smell. My feet were fucking like super hot. I had weird snot like dripping out of my nose for, I don't know, like an hour afterwards. Not to be too vulgar, but I woke up the next morning, I had blood coming out of my ass, like when I took my morning shit. It shook me. Like, I typically come out of all of these experiences and I'm always like, wow, that was crazy. And I try to journal it. And, I've had all of these really, really insane interactions. This one, I came out and I didn't know where to put it. Like I went outside. I sat outside for like an hour. I called one of my best friends. I called my girlfriend. I'm shaking now, just kind of reiterating it, because it really was this different thing where something happened where my body got, and I there was nothing negative about it. There was no like sexual thing to it. There was no pain. And I felt as though I came out stronger, better, more tuned. So it wasn't like a negative experience. It was just petrifying because I couldn't move at all. I was not in my room. And I was like, it was almost like a sleep paralysis, like type shit but sleep paralysis, but removed from my room. And the kind of weird thing on that too was, there was no one here. So normally I do it and my girlfriend's sleeping over or my parents are here. Like this was the one time where no one was at my house. And I did that for a reason. Like I wanted a nice quiet meditation, and it was, it was weird. So,
wow.
That only happened once, and hopefully it doesn't happen all that often.
Yeah. Can I say something? Because you just triggered a memory of mine that happened when I was about 24. So I'd had my eldest son. He was about 3 years old, and I'd moved out from my parents' house, and we'd been living in this house for about 3 years, and we just sat down, just me and my ex, just watching the TV. Lutton was in bed, and I just started going a bit, not dizzy, but like could feel like something different. And this does sound really stupid, and I felt my brain started to vibrate inside my head. And I'm like, oh, am I having a stroke? Am I dying? Is something going? What is going on? And it lasted I'd say about 5 seconds. And it just stopped. And I sat there and I was waiting. I thought, was it a seizure or something? I've never had anything like that before. And nothing else happened. And I was a bit wary of going to sleep in case I didn't wake up again. I was really ill and ended up in hospital. And it just didn't know what was going on. Anyway, I ended up going to bed, got up the next day, and felt like a completely different, new same person, but completely new.
Recharged.
And it was like, and it opened. I had a lot of paranormal stuff going on at the time, and it kind of opened a lot of stuff up. And it also, I knew things that there's no way I would have known before. That one, I'll give a quick example. I was playing Trivial Pursuit. This is obviously back in the day. And it's not a boring story, I promise you. It's
no, I'd love this because it's just another amazing data point of how shit cannot be explained by normal rational thought. No, I love it.
So we're at the house next door. So it's me and the missus, and it's Carl and his missus. We're playing Trivial Pursuit. And my ex she was a lot more academically clever than I was, or am, should we say. And so I'm good on science, general knowledge, like science, nature, geography, all that kind of stuff, and quite good on. But hers was more art and literature. Anyway, so going around the board and getting all the little bits and pieces. And then once you've got all, is it 6 or 8? You've got to go in the middle, and then they choose what question they're going to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
So got in the middle, and I knew she was going to choose art and literature. And she asked me the question, and even before she finished, I remember the question. I remember everything about it like it just happened. And even before she finished asking the question, I knew what the answer was. So I'll tell you what the question was: who was a fictional character, detective, that fell to his death from a cliff? Right? And I'm like, I haven't got a clue. But something popped up. And I just sat there laughing because I knew that this was right. I'd not said anything at this point. I love it. And I'm proper pissing myself. And they're like looking at me like, what's wrong with him? I just went Sherlock Holmes, right? The board flew across the room. All the bits went everywhere. I wasn't spoken to for about 3 days.
Sherlock Holmes fell to his death?
Yeah, from a cliff. I don't even know how I know that, because I've never, ever heard it in my life. But this was not long after following that brain quiver thing that I had. But there's other stuff that went on as well, not just that. I'd be watching something on TV and I could tell you what was going to happen. It was a live TV show. There's all different things like that. And it's a constant. It wasn't just like the odd thing here and there. It was like every day, like 2-3 different things. But that's just one that stands out more than anything else. Excuse me.
And that's more than just a synchronicity. Like, and I love talking about synchronicities and all the things that kind of you get to explore and like the little gifts that are given throughout the day and the breadcrumbs. But that's way more than that. That's you. And so is it some weird time loop thing? Was it like you were able to look back? But yeah, and I don't act like I have the answers either, but I know that, and this is just another perfect and beautiful example of how the fuck does that shit happen? Exactly. I don't know, but it happened, right? And I just met you. I don't think, I'm trusting that you're not lying to me. I'm trusting that you're not saying that story just to make a point.
I couldn't make that really up if it tried.
Well, and that's the beauty of it. It's like, how the fuck did that information get there? And you're pulling it out of something, whether it be this whatever collective consciousness, whether it be this like Akashic records, whether it just be you're elevated at a higher hum and you could look over there and look at the answer, whatever it may be. That does happen, and you can practice and you can get better at it, which is cool.
Well, my knowledge of Sherlock Holmes at the time was he lived at 221B Baker Street. He worked with Dr. Watson and hounded the Baskervilles. That's it. Nothing else other than that. So I couldn't even begin to guess any of that.
So it's funny. When you started to say the question, I thought Sherlock Holmes, but then you said fell to his death. And I'm like, Sherlock Holmes didn't fall to his death, did he?
Apparently he did.
Now you know.
I didn't know, but that was the thing. I didn't know, but then something just went, but you do. And then I started laughing. I'm just, it was worth not being spoken to for 3 days. Rather like.
Well, and you also hit on something too, that you've had other things happen since, and I would like to say that they'll probably continue to happen for a couple reasons. One, because now you're looking for it more. Your body is more sensitive and in tune to it, and you really do kind of get to like alter.
There is one thing as well that me, Nicole, and Brandon have spoke about. We've got a little WhatsApp chat group, number synchronicity.
Oh yeah.
But what I started I can create my own number synchronicity.
I believe you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it started off. So when I fuel the van up in the morning, because we'll go load the van up, go and fuel it up, and then go out and do the jobs. So when I'm fueling up, I know when I can create like the cost of it and the liters and all that, and I can make them all like 1s, 3s, or 7, whatever numbers. And I can't do it every single time, but I know when I get to the pump whether I'm going to be able to do it or not. And I just stand at the pump just laughing to myself like, this is wicked. Love this.
It's weird shit.
Yep.
Are you familiar with Anthony Peake? He's a UK guy.
Yes.
Into a bunch of weird shit.
Yes. Yes.
So he's written a lot of really good books, but and they all somehow come back to DMT. A lot of things all come back to DMT, but he's written extensively on people that have like temporal lobe epilepsy, people that have like migraine headaches, and really it's the same thing like we were talking about. They're having these altered states, these different brain wavelengths happening. In essence, they're getting higher energy put into it, and they're really able to have very similar psychedelic states. They're able to have ESP. They're able to move back and forth in time, and it's, you know, it sounds similar to like what you just said, where you kind of have this little brain zap, and whether new synapses are firing or new connections are happening or whatever the hell it is. But I don't think you can dispute that information is out there in that ether or wherever the hell it is.
Yeah,
but
it's like the next day, like I said, I was really worried about going to sleep, and I must have just been lay there like, just try and stay awake for as long as you can, and you know it just gets the better of you. Gone. But then I woke up the next day. It's like, oh my god, I just felt so different.
Take that to the extreme. That guy, Joe McGonigal, the guy who like remote views, and like he was famous for the Hunt for Red October. Like he found like the Soviet sub by like remote viewing and shit. So
yeah.
I actually was able to listen to like a 3-hour talk by him. I was sitting like 5 feet away from him. It was fucking awesome. It was such an amazing experience. But he's like, so he was saying how he's worked for like 5 different presidents. He's done all this. He's worked, you know, for the government and all these military agencies for like decades and decades. But now he basically just has a private business where he only works for like private police stations and people basically looking for like missing children. And that's how he's dedicating his time now, to basically find kidnapped kids or kids that are lost and need help.
Yeah.
And he'll describe about how, you know, he'll know that whatever the blue sneakers in the kid's backpack will be in the shed at the bottom of the hill, and then he'll be in the well 50 feet up, and then he'll go there, and like that's where the kid will be. And he was telling stories about how sometimes he's ended up in like handcuffs before, because the police are like, there's no way you would know this unless you were part of, you know, the abduction. Or, you know, he's pulled out shit for years and years and years where it's dead on. And you know, I left that with just, well, what an amazing individual, and just he had story after story after story. But the really impactful thing is he's right now saving kids' lives. Like he's helping these scared little children that are lost and kidnapped and being abused, and he's finding them by using his elevated consciousness and his brain power to do it. And it's not like he's done it once where he's lucky, or he's done it a couple times. Like he's done it time and time again. And it's also not like me saying, oh yeah, I interacted with a mantis looking alien. Like you can't ever prove that. No one can ever prove that. And I can just keep running on and talking about a bunch of shit. Like he can tell you, hey, I found John Smith, I found Sally, whatever I found. And it's just time and time and time again, these are verifiable things. And that's exactly why our government has pumped millions and millions of dollars into these programs, because they work. And to hear it, you know, directly from his mouth about some of his personal stories and some of the shit that even he was just like, you know, when I die, I'm gonna have some stuff in my will that's it's gonna blow your mind. And it's like, oh fuck, like I can't even imagine. But when you start putting it in perspective where you're saving little kids' lives and you're finding kidnapped kids, that's when you can say it becomes very real. And it's not just, well, I want to go on an alien spaceship, or I want to see what's on the dark side of the moon. It's like, no, I can really use my powers to basically do exactly what you did. Know the answer to something that you shouldn't know, but somehow you just intuitively know it, and then learn how to follow your intuition. And then then understand like what is the brain heart state, like what type of coherence are you in, what type of mind state do you feel like you're in when you're having these epiphanies, and then consistently try to get back to that state. And obviously he spent his entire life honing his abilities, and he's certainly a very unique individual, but to some extent we can all kind of do that.
It's like, I just thinking while you saying that, I like that I can do these different things, but I haven't got a clue how to do it. I don't know how to home in on it. It either happens or it doesn't. So
what's the guy's name who is using the psychic abilities to find missing people while we're on that topic?
Joe McNonigal. So McNoneagal. He's the guy that, like, if you look at like the Gateway Experience all the CIA like Hunt for Red October.
Yeah.
Actually, I wrote it down the other day. It's McMoneagal. Joe McMonagle. Yeah, he's a fucking rock star. So so he's written books, and he's been on a bunch of shows. He's actually been on a couple ones recently where he's kind of at that age now where he doesn't give a fuck and he's starting to spill the beans and letting people know, like, well, because it all, before we started recording, we were like, what is the overall big arcing message? Like, what is the whole purpose of all of this? And it's like, well, the truth is, what's the next step of human evolution? What do we need to do to move on from all the bullshit we're currently living in? And he wants to use this power for good now. He wants to truly, share love, spread love, and I'm happy to say that's my message as well. But it came through, a bunch of different experiences. But we can use that power for good.
Yeah. Right. Are we okay to get a 2-minute break?
And then when we get back, we've
got a ton of questions for you.
Oh boy!
So,
like, where the hell's that accent from?
That was actually one of my questions. I was going to ask you where you're from, but
not too far from you. But yeah, I'm down for a 2-minute break. And you said we got some good guitar music that we're going to listen to?
Yeah. It's one of my mates who's done it, so
cool.
It's the full one's 5 minutes, but I'm just going to do 2.5-minute one.
2 minutes.
It's all
2
good.
minutes good.
Yeah, 5 minutes is a little bit too long, especially on a Friday.
And there's when we're coming back.
Yeah. Oh no, this one I've done it proper. I've actually edited and put it all together, so it does tell you. So,
all right,
I'll see you guys in 2 minutes 20. See you then.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And we are back. Ooh, someone got caught eating.
That was some sexy ass guitar playing.
It's good, isn't it?
Right?
That was nice. Like,
yeah,
you just want to keep flowing with that.
Yeah, I love it. Loads of people in the chat love it as well. But yeah, it's good.
So just to keep complimenting somebody for expressing themselves, that's also a take-home message that I think is vastly important, especially with, probably the group of listeners like that listen to shows like this, where the world needs more of unique expression. The world needs more musicians, artists, people writing weird shit like I do, people doing like what you and Brandon are doing. Like, as long as you're not harming anybody and hurting anybody, it's like to share that shit with the world, to write poetry, to create art, to compose amazing music like that, and then have the balls to share it and then to give it and be like, hey, I think this is worthy of being played, is awesome because it gets exposed to me, to everybody. And it's like, that just made the world just that much more beautiful for just those 2 minutes. And thank you. And everybody needs to do that. Sorry.
No.
It's important when you hear something beautiful like that.
The thing is, he's not even in the chat tonight. I know because he's gone to Wales because a family member's just moved into a new house. It's an 18th century Edwardian townhouse or something. And apparently the estate agent told him it's haunted. So,
well, that's cool. Well, I say cool. It could be terrifying.
It depends what's haunting it.
It's cool.
Yeah, I'd move there if it was haunted. So yeah, but he will watch it back, so it's all good. I'll message him later and make him watch it. So,
tell him there's some funny looking bald guy in the States that thinks he's a great musician. Just what he needed to hear. Hey, you know what? Yeah. Maybe it is though. Maybe he needed that little.
You know what? It will be because I know him and I know. Yeah, it's all good.
Well, that's another point. Yeah. Give the compliment when you can, because a lot of people need that extra. Just to let people know that they're part of a group is important.
Yeah, it's just some little things in it that make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
To make all the difference in someone's day.
Yes. Yes. Right. We've got tons of questions. I'm not going to do them in order. No, I wasn't going to do them in order.
First question, Adam, where are you from? Where is the accent from?
Oh, that's Rhode Island.
Rhode Island.
So, the tiniest state in the country, but not too far from Boston, New York.
Okay, I was just say it's giving very Boston vibes, very Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's less than an hour from Boston. So.
Yeah. They're two of the places that I went to when I was in America. So Connecticut. Went Connecticut, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, but all the way up to Boston. I think we did 7 states in 10 days. So.
Well, Rhode Island's a very little one.
Yes, it's beautiful. But traveling across the country, and so a couple things. There's so much natural beauty in the United States, and there's just you could spend years and years and years traveling. But I did realize that how beautiful my coastal state is, where you can go at any point and just go to a bunch of different beaches and stare onto the ocean, and it is a beautiful place.
Block Island is one of my favorite places.
Yes, gorgeous.
Yeah, not like the UK where it's just full of crap and smells, and it's a lot of them are just dirty. They're awful. There are some nice ones, like south and east, but the west ones are not that clever.
No,
they're probably better than they used to be, but yeah, I still won't go in the water. Right. Questions. So I'm going to do this one first because this is one of the questions that I was going to ask. So this is from Mark Anderson. Now, Mark was our guest on Wednesday. He works with Chris Meet, Saints here, on Scottish Paranormal Podcast. So Mark is asking, "Hi guys, can I ask where you can legally get DMT in the UK?"
I don't think you can.
No, I don't. I was hoping you was going to have. Yes, I know. Somebody.
I don't know. I know some people that are in the DMT space in the UK. No, but my understanding.
Sorry, go on.
So this is where there's also that kind of disclaimer, you know, and I'm not telling anybody what to do, but most countries it is still illegal. Now, that being said, you can get the plant. So DMT is in thousands and thousands of plants, and it's in high enough concentrations of several plants that you can buy legally online and have them shipped to you. So the most common plant is called Mimosa hostilis.
Yeah.
You get it sent to you because it's used as a natural clothes dye. So it's this really cool, like pretty kind of like brown purple color. That's kind of how you can get around it. Once you get the Mimosa hostilis, it's a very, very simple extraction process. And so, and that's where I put the recipes in the book because it's I think a couple things. You're not buying it from some shady drug dealer. You're not worried about it being laced with like fentanyl or some other shady drug. You can impart the right type of energy and love and vibrations into it, which may sound corny, but I think it's really important. So, if you get a product and you work it through all the way to the end, and it is very simple. It's not a complicated process at all. But I don't think maybe in the Netherlands, and I know like Imperial College, they're doing studies with DMT, but unless you're part of some like research group, I don't think you can get it anywhere.
No. I know of
is very pretty.
I know of people that can get things, but I don't talk to them.
And maybe that's kind of it does fall in your lap somehow, some way. It'll find you too. I mean, I wouldn't just be asking the normal like pot dealer like, hey, you got any of this? Because there's so much shady shit out there. Unless you got a good source. But that's why I thought it was important to put those recipes out too, because there's no reason to go to any shady source. And honestly, $200 worth of product will last you enough for a lifetime. You really won't need any more than that. So like one batch would truly be enough for most people forever.
Ooh. Yeah. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah. But
moving on.
But I'm actually glad because it's natural. It's naturally produced in our own body. It's naturally plant-based. There's a lot of research going into it, and that's kind of the point, is why should it be, where do we get it? Why do you have to go to the dark web to get it? Why it should just be a very easily accessible, approachable thing, if and only if there wasn't this taboo about it, if there was more information. And that's why, I'm only one part of the story. There's so many people from the academic and, like I said, scientific side that are saying all of these really positive things about it. That it is natural, that you do metabolize it quickly, that you can't get addicted to it, that it does allow for neuroplasticity and neurogenesis. So truly new brain cells are being formed. And then amongst all the other spiritual kind of esoteric things that it does, but it does actually affect the physiology of your body in a way that enhances like your cognitive ability. That's fucking awesome.
But in it true as well, though, if we was to be tested for DMT, we would be over the limit, or I don't even know what the limit is, but you'd get arrested, and that's why they kind of can or cannot make it illegal as such, because it's a natural thing in most living things.
Yeah, I don't know, but my understanding is that there was studies done on rats where the levels of DMT were like comparable to levels of like serotonin and like dopamine and other neurotransmitters. My understanding, and once again, this is just kind of breezing the papers. My understanding is that it's metabolized so quickly in the human body that to isolate it, most people say that it's located in the pineal gland, or that it's formed in the pineal gland. I've heard that it's in the cerebral spinal fluid, that it's in your urine, that it's in your lungs. I think it's probably pulses through the body and ultimately saturates all of those, where its actual origin point is and how it's formed, that because they're not able to do human studies yet, but they have this new like extended state research going on, and that's happening at a couple different locations. That there's more work being done with ayahuasca, which is that the main ingredient is DMT. That there is, I think we're at this tipping point where there's more and more data points of the benefits and the power of these molecules. And I think we're getting to the point where it's going to be more accessible to more people very soon.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be like if you used to get tested on it, you'd be like thousands of times over what would be like a proven legal limit sort of thing. So that's why they can't test you, because it's in your body all the time, pretty much.
Well, I know I can get my natural endogenous DMT levels fucking crazy high. So through deep meditation, through breathing techniques, through like holotropic breathing, where it's kind of like short, steady breaths, and you actually have to kind of work up, and you can feel the energy rising, and it's rising. It doesn't seem like it's going top down. It's rising through your body, and you can feel that vibration. You can feel that hum. I mentioned how, you know, me and my girlfriend use it in our kind of sexual routine. So we're used to feeling that energy when we're intimate. There's been multiple times where we haven't done DMT for days or weeks, and we'll be in you know, the midst of our like tantric passion, and we'll taste it, we'll smell it, like we'll actually get our body to create and pulse that much DMT where we are in this like ecstatic, enlightened, weird state. And it's once, like, if you have never done DMT before, you would just be like, oh wow, I'm feeling euphoric, or I'm getting overheated, or I'm getting a flush of something. But it's that same nasal cavity sensation, like at the back of your throat, where the first time I did it, like through the breathing meditation after I'd actually smoked it, it was so clearly the same thing. It was like, oh fuck, like I'm tasting DMT, because now I know what to compare it to.
Right, got you.
And it goes to the power of how, it goes to the point of how powerful your body is. If you can produce that, it's pretty fucking awesome.
That's actually a question from Blue Shift. Could you get a DMT flashback like you can with LSD or shrooms?
I would say yes, and typically they're beautiful. Again, because I would say so I haven't done LSD since I was like 20 years old, so I have more experience with shrooms. But I would say with shrooms, it does feel like your body's getting poisoned, and you're expecting it, and you can feel it. But I would say, you know, if you get that whack like that from shrooms, you're almost kind of like, oh fuck, this is like, if you're not expecting it. Where with DMT, it's more natural and it feels good. And a lot of times I would say I have it right before bed. Like when I shut my eyes to go to sleep, a lot of times there'll actually be like a flash of light, and I can feel, I don't know, it's almost like it cracking a glow stick and then like having the light go through. Like I can feel something in my head just going, and it really becomes this pretty cool, like waking lucid dream state. So I would say yes. And there has been times when I've been driving a couple of times, and it's like you'll just get some weird, like, oh fuck, what is that, a DMT entity waving to me on the ridge? So there has been some shit like that, and you just gotta roll with it. Because the truth is the answer is yes. Because in my opinion, that realm and that space is always there. It's just like, have you ever seen that movie They Live? Yeah. That movie where they put on the very, very applicable to that, where once you have those glasses and you can see the shit that's in that space, every so often you get that. Awesome movie. And it's very, because you see the world how it really is, because you just get more data. Fucking scary, but
fun scary.
But I think that's the point of these deep meditations. I think that's the point when people are going on these retreats, when you're going for the walk in the woods. It is to, in essence, have, and I wouldn't even say it's a flashback. It's a natural organic pulse that your body should naturally have for a lot of different reasons. And a lot of times, in my opinion, when you're in those blissful states, that's when those intuitive thoughts come in. That's when those gut feelings come in. That's when those really, like, you get to listen to your real inner self. And I think it's because it elevates the vibration, or it elevates the hum or the energy or the ability of your brain to receive information other than just verbal or, you know, auditory or by visual.
I gotta say, DMT sounds a lot nicer than the ayahuasca trips that people are saying, when they're like vomiting and shitting their pants and like.
Yes, it's pouring out of everywhere.
So I've done ayahuasca probably about 15-20 times. So I've also done that a bunch, and there is recipes in the book about how to make ayahuasca as well. To your point, extremely different. Again, the ayahuasca can last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours. You will be purging yourself. You will be shitting and puking. It's very visceral, very in your face. And that's one of the aspects of, to kind of wrap that up, ayahuasca, I think, does have its place. It certainly will help expose some of the psyche cracks. My issue right now is knowing somebody that's done psychedelics quite a bit. I would not want to go to some place in the woods that's covered with mosquitoes. That's a place that doesn't have, like, I would just feel so out of place, even if it's a beautiful setting with nice people. The idea of going into the woods like that in a place that I don't have control over a lot of shit, I think I would personally just be too weirded out and tweaked out. Now, ayahuasca that you make at home, and actually making the ayahuasca is even simpler than making the DMT crystals. It's literally brewing 2 ingredients like tea. I mean, you steep it for a couple hours, and it's really that simple. Has its place.
Yeah.
Completely different from smoking it. I think one of the best attributes of smoking it is that it only lasts that 6, 7, 8 minutes. So I mentioned that first day how I did, the 6, 7 sessions to get that much therapeutic value in that short of a time. I mean, I feel like I got years and years and years of therapy in an hour and a half, because you're able to have these deep, profound realizations, these downloads, these upgrades, all of these things. And then you're able to come back to full lucidity. There's no hangover. There's no feeling like shit. There's no stomach issues. There's none of that. You're back to full clearness. And you can really then journal, write about it, talk about it, integrate it. If you have any questions, then go back into the space. You don't have to set aside a week. You don't have to go on a retreat. You don't have to wait till whatever. Fucking the neighbors are gone. And that's the real value of it, where, if you're really using it to find out about yourself with the intent of therapy, with that intention, not like just going to a rave or to go to a concert or something like that. And I guess maybe it does have its place for that. But if your intent is to learn about yourself, to sit there with a DMT vape pen or some crystals in a pipe, you can learn a lifetime about yourself in an afternoon. And that's where people like me that had all the material things, all the wealth, all the stuff on paper that anybody could ever ask for, but I was still banging my head against the wall every day and then drowning it with alcohol. Like I couldn't figure out my shit. And this was like, yeah, here you go, dummy. Here's your shit clearly written on a bunch of paper. So now you can't say you don't know your shit. Now it's up to you to fix the shit. But it's, if anybody else would have said the things that my psyche or those entities said to me, I would have taken it very offensively. I would have told them screw. I would have then listed all of my accomplishments and look how great I am and look at what I can do. And it's really helpful when DMT just really shows you where you need to work on. But yeah. Long answer about DMT and ayahuasca.
No. But it's like you said, though, it's like when you hit a crossroads, isn't it? And you can't work it out. You can ask friends and family in that, like, what you think their opinion should be of what to do next. But when even though asking that, it's still not giving you any answers, I think that's where something else needs to come into play, where you can't grasp what it is you need to do next or what path it is that you're going to take.
And not always on the negative side. It can be on the positive side too. Yeah. And that's that's
what I was aiming.
A really good part of it as well, is that it can clarify the path, or it can open up doors, or it can just give you a better perspective on the big picture.
Yeah. Right, got more questions for you? Yeah. Sorry, did I beat you to it?
Yeah.
I'll put it on, you can read it.
Right.
So this one's from Og, our moderator. There we go.
That's
that's the book. Right. There we go.
That's
this
the
one
I was gonna do.
Sorry.
So I want to know, would it be best to do DMT on your own or with your friends?
It's a fantastic question. And I think that's subjective. I kind of equate it to like going to the gym. Like some people love going to the gym alone because it's their quiet space. They put on their headphones and they don't want anybody to talk to them. Other people only want to go if it's a class of 30 and they're being with an instructor at the front of the class and they have that group mentality. So I think it's personal. My first day, I had one of my best friends there, and the safety and security that I felt from him being there was critical for me. And it wasn't like he was there chanting or anything or saying any pleasantries. He wasn't there to interpret any of my trips. It was just to know that whatever, if the house got on fire or if somebody knocked on the door, or if somebody was there, that he could pick me up on his shoulder and carry me out. So that the sense of safety that I felt from him, for me, was invaluable. So I would recommend, if it's your first time, having somebody that you're comfortable with. And maybe even like the point we were just saying about some of these ayahuasca retreats, the idea of doing it in a group mentality with a bunch of strangers that don't know me. Like I've never like held space for anybody that I don't know. I don't smoke with anybody that, to try to help them fucking figure it out. Because I think you really need to be with somebody that you know and trust intimately. That being said, once you get comfortable doing it, I have no problem doing it alone. I enjoy doing it alone, but I also enjoy very much so doing it with my girlfriend. And she enjoys just sitting there with me because she holds me and puts different parts of her body against mine and takes the vibration and the energy. And she in essence has like a trip vicariously through me by feeling how my breath changes, my energy changes, my vibrations change. So there can be some fun dynamics there. But I think doing it for the first time, I would lean towards have somebody that you know and trust. But don't act for them to like make your trip good or bad or anything like that. But I do have a couple, comments in the book about like setting and what to do, what not to do. Make sure you have a nice, comfortable place. Make sure there's no disturbances, things like that. Figure out if you want to have quiet or sound. Make sure your phone's off. There's a lot of just basic things that you want to do so you're not getting startled out of it. Make sure that you're not too cold or too hot. I mean, some of it's basic, but no matter what you're feeling, it's going to be multiplied times a million. So like, even if you have poison ivy or like, one time I wanted to do it, but then I got a fucking, like a hangnail on my thumb and it throbbed like a bastard. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to smoke DMT because I'm going to feel like, I'll feel every beat of my heart through my thumb. Good question. But it is going to be different for everybody. But yeah, I would lean towards having that, at least that first time, have somebody there that you know and trust.
Yep. Thank you. Right. This one's from Jane, Chiro Sounds, and she's asking, if you take shrooms and feel nothing, did you not take enough or just bad shrooms? Or could it be something else completely?
So I've done quite a bit of shrooms, and I feel like I know exactly what you're feeling. So I think a couple things. How much you've eaten prior is going to be really big, so think about like with alcohol, if you have a couple beers on an empty stomach, you're going to feel it, where if you've eaten a huge meal, you're not even going to feel it. I've done times before where I've done an eighth or more and just kind of had a pretty mild experience, but then I've done a gram or less and I've tripped my balls for hours. I remember one time I was driving and I just took I think it was like a half-gram microdose because I was like, this will be a nice, make my drive interesting. And then I started having crazy visuals and I started laughing at myself. I was like, I got to pull over and have like a trip nap. And I did. I just pulled over, fell asleep for a couple hours, and because I couldn't even, not that you should drive at any time on shrooms, but
no.
it was like, oh shit. But there is, and maybe equate it to alcohol or marijuana too. There is quite a bit of different strengths, and it has to do not only with the strain, but how they're grown, how they're dried, how they're cured, to what level, when they were picked. Where you can have something that's 20 proof or 120 proof. You can buy weed that's 15%, or I mean, I just picked up some indica that's like 39%. It's like, what the fuck? So it is, and I would also say intention can go a long way. I would say, especially with shrooms, like the mindset, what you're in. If you were going into it being like, oh, I'm not going to feel anything, these are shit, they're probably going to be like, yeah, fuck you, I'm not going to show you anything then. I mean, if you were going in there being like, oh, these are magical and I'm going to, whatever, it's. So, try it again. Eat some more.
No,
there's nothing wrong with in the middle of a trip having some more, and that's actually, I love doing that with shrooms, where you'll have, say, if you've got 5 or 6 grams that you're going to do 2 grams, let it come in, do another 2, then push it again, or split up, 6 grams into 2 different sessions. And because once you take a nice full dose when you're already in it, it kind of like you get to turbocharge it.
Yeah. But we always say everything, just general everyday life, it's all to do with intent.
Mm-hmm.
The main
true.
It is. It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You kind of get out what you put into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got all these cliches, but ultimately all of the DMT sessions, all of this deep meditation, these thousands of books that I've read, it ultimately all comes down to sentences just like that. And it's because that's really what it all boils down to. All the other stuff is just kind of fun along the way.
Yeah, just there.
Well, I shouldn't say fun. And that's something maybe a good point as we're talking about these conversations about elevated and altered states of consciousness, and getting to these different states and the information in these realms other than that we get to see in our human state. And a lot of people will talk about like ascending to this 5D dimension and getting into the astral plane and staying there, or never, getting to some point where you don't have to reincarnate and come back because that way you can leave this stupid meat suit. I've had, it's refined, but over the last few months, really getting to the appreciation of how beautiful and wonderful this human meat suit is, about how wonderful the human experience is, and how, to really appreciate where we're at right now. And yes, we're limited by time and space. And yes, we don't have, all of these elevated vibrations are fun and cool, but you can't experience ice cream. You can't experience making love. You can't experience going to the beach and smelling the salt air unless you're in this human body. And I don't think it's a matter of ascending it or leaving it or getting to a point where you're constantly transcending it, or, go to the Monroe Institute so you can learn how to vibrate and hum all day so you're never fully in your body. That's not the point. I think it's to, once you have the dichotomy and the separation, or once you understand and appreciate both sides, I think it's finding a balance of how do you incorporate it. But to really appreciate your body and understand how beautiful and wonderful it is an important part of this, because if you're constantly seeking to get out of it, if you're constantly trying to ascend, you're going to miss out on the true purpose of all this information, which is just to be comfortable here in the now, to really experience everything in that those entities, the ghosts, the aliens, the spirits, the DMT entities, I feel like they wish they could collapse down to our dumb, slow 3D dimension, and they can't. Like their bodies can't work in that space. Oz can go into these other dimensions. We can tap into the DMT space. We can interact with ghosts and entities and spirits. And it's like, I think we're fortunate but then we can come back to the bowl of ice cream and the warm, soft sheets and the cute puppies and the, all the stuff that makes life really enjoyable to be in this body. But that's my softer side coming out, but it's important.
Because we look at like animals and we're like, oh, I wish I could have a simple life like a dog. Like, you just happy all the time. You just sleep and eat. You don't worry about things.
I actually thought that today.
About us.
I did actually think that today when I was crap day at work again.
So you asked me, like when we first were introducing each other, you're like, how are you? And I said something like, I'm fantastic, but I'm always fantastic and I'm always wonderful. And it's, I know it's going to be nauseating for some of the people that I work with or some of my friends, but since this whole experience, I really haven't had a bad day. I truly wake up every day with tears of joy and gratitude. Every night I go to bed like with thanks, and I give appreciation to everything that's happened. And it's really because I'm not looking for any particular outcome. I'm really trying to enjoy every experience. I know everybody that crossed my paths, including you two, are there for a reason. Every day there's magic that can happen. Every day there's synchronicities. Every day there's cool shit, and you really do. Like, I mean, right now I went from making, a shit ton of money, making $1,000 a day, working hardly anything, to now I'm being a landscape and making $20 an hour, like the least money I've ever made in my life. I'm happy all fucking day because I'm smelling the roses. I'm playing with the bumblebees. And luckily my friend owns a company, so he lets me do all my weird shit. But like, I'll follow the butterfly into the woods. I'll roll over the log to see if there's a salamander there. If I see somebody all of our clients, like, they know to come to me for a hug or for a laugh, or it's like, when I pump gas, I'm looking for the opportunity to whatever. It's like there's not, it's partly because I know I shouldn't be here. Like I did almost take my life, and I know that this is truly my second chance at it all. And I'm going to take every sip of coffee, every bite of ice cream, every time I get to hug a friend, every time, like everything is so meaningful. So I do kind of walk around like the golden retriever, like, so, and I used to be, and it's because I used to be so the opposite. I used to be the dark, nasty energy that would just shut down a room and fucking, it would suck. So, you can figure out what you want to be, but it physiologically feels better to be full of contentment, happiness, gratitude, where there's, now this is, I mentioned where I'm living in my parents' basement. I have no fucking money. This is from owning 15 homes to having millions to having all of the shit, the fancy cars, the vacations, all that shit. I used to have a nice 3-story Victorian, like right near the water, all of this. I don't have any of that anymore. And I've got this huge pile of stuff that I got to rebuild out of. So it's not like, oh yeah, it's easy for him to say. No, I'm in the, I've one of the hardest positions that I've ever really been in. And I'm happy as fuck because I'm not looking, like I said, every day is just a joyous opportunity to express myself and figure out what the world is trying to teach me. And it's just it's a perspective shift that's not based on money. It's not based on competition. It's not, what do they think about me? It's just like before we started recording, it's self-knowledge. Know thyself. If you can learn about yourself, then you learn how to love yourself. Once you learn how to love yourself, then it becomes easy to love your neighbor and love the community and love all the people around you. And when you really start approaching every day with love as your backdrop, you'll still have red lights, you'll still get parking tickets, you'll still have the bullshit, you'll still there's still be people that piss you off, but you put it in a perspective where it doesn't affect your day, and then you become whatever, the weird DMT guy like me that looks like I should be angry, but I'm not.
That's cool. Thank you for that. It's so interesting. All this is so interesting. It's just, it is amazing. It really is. Right. Next question is from Chiro Sounds again. So, how does Adam consume them? Chew the stems or caps or grind it to a powder for tea? Shrooms.
So I'm assuming that's the shrooms.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I say that though. DMT, when you make what you would normally make the ayahuasca, so when you basically brew it and steep it, I mentioned how you can use that to make brownies, to make cookies. So you can make edible DMT. The only thing is that you have to, and that's the difference with ayahuasca. There's another, it's the actual ayahuasca vine that's in it. You have to add a monoamine oxidase inhibitor. So there's multiple products that do that, like black pepper is one, turmeric. You can buy like that isolate just as is. There's a bunch of plants that you can use for that, but really you just put them together, and then you can, like I said, you can use that in your smoothies. You can use it in your oatmeal. I used to mix. I did a road trip with my dad, and he would be driving and whatever, he'd be driving drinking a beer, and I would be drinking with like a 50-50 blend of coffee and ayahuasca, and we drove across the country. He was helping me go through a bunch of my shit, and did I have a full blown like meet the jaguar? No, but that wasn't my intention. My intention was to kind of microdose ayahuasca. But yeah, you can put it in your oatmeal, smoothies, things like that. The shrooms, I actually prefer to use a coffee grinder, grind it up into a fine powder, and then whatever. I typically put it in a drink, or pudding or yogurt would be really good. I don't like chewing on the stems. Like it always has this gag reflex, and it's like lemon tech that where you squeeze lemon juice. Like my understanding is like the citric acid or something in the lemon juice allows you to absorb it really, really quick. So if you mix it with lemon juice, that'll make it hit you that much quicker. I did find, and I was worried about making tea with shrooms, that it would, like, are you losing it? Like, am I wasting some potency if I boil it? And, should I just eat the eighth because it's going to be stronger?
Yeah.
I didn't find any lack or any lessening of the effects with brewing it. So now I would say I brew it in tea. So, get a loose tea bag, grind it up, and then put a couple of the different tea types in it. And I find that that's that hits you the same as eating it without having to consume all that gross shit.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Remind me to stay away from you guys on the road.
No.
It was either that or whatever. Freaking, I was gonna drive it off a cliff anyway. So
we all need to be. He needs to be the next person that's going to meet us when we go Gettysburg.
Yeah.
So I heard you guys. I was listening to the podcast where you were just talking about that. I just went through Gettysburg and Manassas. So Manassas, the first Battle of Manassas and the second Battle of Manassas. I was literally on the way home from Virginia. So I just kind of meandered through like all the Potomac River area. But I actually had an awesome walk through the battlefield of Manassas. And again, excuse me with a lady on the the podcast here, but to go pee on a tree in the woods, knowing that these Civil War soldiers were probably peeing on that very same tree. And I was there with honest intention to be like, does anybody need help transferring over, or is there any information that you can share? But it was so cool to pee in a tree knowing that it was, and I specifically picked one that I figured would be that old to pee on. But yeah,
we always laugh because we always end up talking about men peeing on trees in the woods and having some experience. They're like, we were driving and I pulled over and I had to pee, and then I looked up and there's a UFO.
So I traveled, I said, over a year, and I went to all the national parks. I went to every river I went to, every mountaintop. And that was one of my things was I tried to pee in as many cool places as I could because, whatever. Like
you literally did a bucket list.
Well, when my story's finally written, or if I could like look back at like my life as a movie and to be like, man, that dude pissed in a lot of fucking awesome places. Like, and whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely not a boring life, but yes. But just that whole area really is, and the energy, like, to go there to try to, tap into to those energies and to feel it. It really is a palpable weight. It is a different feeling. It's a different energy. You feel it. It's like the house that I was at, the stone house. It's one of the main crossroads there. It was used as a hospital. So it's like you're sitting there on the steps that many, like those are the same stone steps that everybody had sat with. Like that's the same, door transom that people are walking under, and
it's like a sense of reverence.
It's fallible. It's just palpable how powerful it is. But some really, really cool sites.
Yeah. Andy's gonna go next year.
Well, let me know. We'll go pee on trees together.
Yes.
Well, so some really cool.
I will not be peeing on trees, but I will moral support.
Some really cool. So I mentioned about going to Virginia too, and whatever. Not to start talking about all the awesome places, but Luray Caverns. There's this awesome cavern complex underground. It's some of the most beautiful, stunning. Truly, it's like you're in another world. But
wow.
And it's the size of a small city. It's massive.
Really?
But you walk for like 45 minutes, and it's just caverns bigger than houses. But it puts things in perspective again. There's way more than what we normally are exposed to, and just try to expose yourself to them.
Yeah, I need to move to America. It's shit in England. I'm not, no offense, but it really is. There's nothing. There is nothing, honestly.
There's a lot of nasty people here in the U.S. There's a lot of beautiful people, and there is this consciousness shift that I think is happening. Yeah. There is this there's so many just ignorant, nasty people in the States, especially when it comes to politics and especially comes to all that shit. But
and the thing is, we are licensed on everything. We need a permit for everything we do. In the US, you don't. As Nicole keeps telling me, I'll say like, "Oh, I'm doing this and blah blah blah." She goes, you need a permit for that. Like, yeah.
He needed a permit to fly a drone. He needed a permit to get a kayak.
To go on the rivers with the kayak.
To camp.
In case you crash into somebody.
Yeah, right. I would tell them to fuck off. I would tell them to get out of my way. I'm going in the river.
Yeah, I'll show you my. You can't really do anything with it, but that's my Pedal UK license.
Oh, there you go. You're good. Yeah. Like that's gonna do anything for you.
It's like $70 a year for that.
Yeah, you know what that is? So that means if you do something stupid, they can sue you. Or so if you get drunk or if you whatever, like then
Yeah.
they're like, yep, nope, you know what, you didn't comply and now we got you.
But if you don't have one of them and you get caught, it's a minimum of £1,000 fine.
Wow.
You need a permit to pee on a tree in the UK?
No, you just don't get caught.
Yeah. Again, you find the small things in life, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. We got a couple more questions.
Yeah. Go on.
This one's from Joanne. What are the differences in experience between DMT and LSD?
So again, I haven't done LSD since I was in my 20s, but I did maybe 10 times or so. My remembrance of it is crazy, mind-blowing experiences, the visuals, all of that. I remember, I talked to this like dragon coming out of the concrete for hours on LSD, but I remember it feeling very chemical, very synthetic. Same thing, kind of like shrooms, how it was like a poisoning sensation coming over you, where like you're feeling it coming on, and you're like, oh shit, this is, I'm gonna go for a ride, and clearly that you're being drugged, and in the full essence of the word drugged. It's the DMT is very, very different. First, there's no buildup. It's snap. You're there. That is by the time you're blowing it out, and that's where like one of the quotes of Terrence McKenna, he was one of the original people that really spoke a lot about DMT, where he was saying about, if you can just take that one more massive toke, because it's hard. That first hit, you're feeling really out there. That second hit, things are really changing. That third hit, you're like, holy shit, how is this happening? And if you can have the wherewithal to take that, again, that fourth or fifth hit, but even that, it's the time it takes to take 3 or 4 hits is still less than a minute. So there's no buildup. So it's instant. You're instantly there, and it's not a poison drug sensation. It's a, oh shit, I'm seeing behind the curtain. Oh shit, this is what it looks like behind the Wizard of Oz. Like this is what it's like to have 25 senses, not just 5. Where my remembrance of LSD was like, wow, my 5 senses can do some really weird shit. Like, look at, my eyes can do this. I'm hearing the birds and it's making it do this. But it wasn't, what are these new senses? Like, really, what the fuck world am I in? So DMT is, and that's where I think it's important to read as much literature as possible. It's not only, that's what I'm saying. It's really the people that have done it all. And what's the difference between ketamine and what's the difference between ibogaine?
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of this stuff out there. They all kind of do their own separate thing. But everybody that interacts with DMT always puts it on a different level. Like always, like there's this great comedian in the US called Shane Moss. That's his name. But he goes this through, part of his skit is he goes through like all the different experiences of all the different things. And he has, a funny story for each one of them. But then he gets to DMT and he's like, put all of those together, put the most profound shit you've ever experienced, condense it in fucking 8 minutes. And then like, what do you even do with that? How do you even put that into context? So it really is that mind blowing where, like with LSD, like say, like if you to walk through like an amusement park on LSD or shrooms, you get to walk through it, enjoy the ride, see what each thing is, look at it before you get on it, figure out where you want to go, take a lunch break, go to the bathroom. With DMT, it's like you're fucking blasted around, you zip through, you're going on all the rides, all that kind of like once, and then you're coming out and you're like, yep, and you peed your pants. Like fucking, you didn't even have time to go to the bathroom. It's that. So you're getting all the information, more of the information received in a bunch of different ways. And then, and again, and you snap out of it just as quick too. Like you come back to full clear lucidity, very, very instantly. And I mean, I use it in the morning before I go to the gym. I love, like, I'm writing my next book, like as far as, and actually, I'm sorry, I wanted to say that about how using it for good. So I mentioned the chapter about transcendental sex. Well, the full chapter is Transcendental Sex, Art, and Science, where it talks about the different applications of DMT in, some of these. Yes, it's important for therapy. Yes, it's important for suicide and trauma and all of that. But there's all the really positive, fun applications. Like you can imagine the engineer working on some problem for years and not being able to figure it out. Well, it's because they're using Earth physics. They're using what we know now. That same problem, look through the eyes of DMT lens, you're going to have a whole different perspective. Or, what's the next cure for autism? What's the next break in cancer? There's a lot of work being done in like dementia with DMT and Alzheimer's with DMT. You can imagine these doctors working on it where just to have a new perspective, a new shift. You can imagine approaching these types of logical, rational problems with all these elevated senses. That I think there's a real big application for finding out more information. And then the other fun part of like art, you can imagine whether a musician, an artist, a drawer, a sculptor, a chef, anything that you can, any of these things that you do, to be able to do now with, again, all of these extra sensory inputs, and to know that, like, even now, I'm not a musician, but when I listen to songs, I can hear now all of the underlying beats, all of the underlying symphonies, all of the, it's amazing. When I taste food now, I can taste all of the 15 ingredients. When I smoke weed, I can taste all of the terpenes and all of the different profiles. It's like I can smell fucking coffee from 3 houses away. It's crazy. Like all of these. So now when I write, I really get into this awesome flow state. And actually just a normal flow state for any artist is very similar to a DMT state. Like you lose track of time, you tap into a higher source, you're getting downloads of information that you truly feel aren't coming from you. You can just kind of purge and get it out. So, flow state naturally is awesome. Flow state kind of induced by a saturation of DMT is awesome, because I just tap into that creative energy place where it's creative, and it just happens, and it's cool.
Excellent. Thank you. Right, we've got 2 questions left. Sorry, I'm just trying to take it all in, and I'm actually, as you're talking,
this is fucking great.
I'm flicking through the book, and I'm like, yeah. So yeah,
we talked about this a little bit, this question, but if you had to sum it up, what would you think is the biggest benefit, the single biggest benefit you got from taking DMT?
The single biggest benefit would be to truly embrace and understand the importance of being here now, to not to be so tied up in the past and the bullshit that's happened before, and to be worried so much about where the future is going to go and how this is going to pan out and what's going to happen. To truly be in the moment, and appreciate it for what it is. And that doesn't mean don't have goals. That doesn't mean forget about the past. But in my particular case, I had this amazingly colorful past that was like trying to put that into perspective. And now where the hell does the future go? And it was driving me nuts, where once I got to just be like, no, just that in the big picture. And that epiphany that I had was really about, I thought I always needed to connect the dots, and I had all of these proverbial dots that I wanted to connect. And then they got connected, it blew up, and then 1 million dots. And that got connected, it blew up in 1 trillion dots. The lesson was, though, to enjoy the gap, or the space between the dots, to enjoy the gap, to enjoy the silence between the beat. So to really, and that's the same way of saying to enjoy being here in the now. And it's that space is beautiful to be in, because you're not pushing for either the past or the future. So that would probably be and then all the hard work has to come. But unless you're in that space, you can't really do anything really meaningful, because your mind isn't going to be lined up with your heart.
Cool. Thank you again.
And now I can talk to aliens, gods, demons, devils, and fuck angels and stuff.
Yeah. Last question, Andy. You got it?
Yep. So this is from Ag again. I've heard it is not good to do any drugs, whether soft or hard, if in a dark place. Is this not correct then?
Well, I think there's a lot of research that are going in to the therapeutic benefits of psychedelics. So whether it be the post-traumatic issues with women losing their kids, whether it be a lot of like the soldiers coming down, like the suicide rate for young men because of military service is massive. So there's a lot that goes in, and it's a matter of shaking the perspective and putting all of that past trauma into perspective. Now, extremely valid point though, because everything is going to be multiplied. Everything's going to be really blown up. And if you're in a really dark place, it's probably going to get darker for a while. But I know in my particular case that's what I needed. Like I really needed to face my demons and to walk through that darkness. I had been sweeping it under the rug for a very, very long time. So can it push some people over the edge? yes. And that's why, that disclaimer, do it with caution. Ideally, have somebody there to help you out with it in case shit does go kind of south. But I think the most applicable use of psychedelics is to help people with trauma and or suicide, depression, shit like that. But yeah, it's scary. But I tell you, dealing with depression, suicidal thought, and all the dark things, and now 2+ years into it and helping people go through it, really empathetically listening to people's stories that have been in the same dark places that I have. There's extreme benefit, life-saving benefit from finally turning around and sitting with the darker aspects of your life. And psychedelics help in the fact that it prevents you from lying to yourself. But like in my case, I was lying to my girlfriend, I was lying to my family, I was lying to my friends. I was paying this therapist $240 an hour. I would go and basically fabricate a story to make me look like I was some beautiful genius that was misunderstood, and my mind's just so complex, no one would understand, like blah blah. It's like, no, you're a fucking drunk idiot who treats people like shit. That's why your relationships are going to shit. It's like, it's just, but the bluntness that comes from facing the darkness is, I think, what most people need, because if it comes from somebody else, they're not gonna take it.
No.
When it comes from yourself, you have to listen.
Yeah, totally get that. Yeah. This has been absolutely amazing. It really has.
Very
because
good.
It's how honest you are with it all as well, and like straight down the line. It's just really appreciate you coming on and disclosing all this stuff, like personal life, what it does, but explaining that it might not be for everyone, and you can all have different types of experiences as well. You're not just saying, "Oh, do it because it's great," or "Don't do it because it's crap." It's the way you go into it is making it what it really is, I suppose.
Yeah, it's real, it's honest.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I know I resonate with in other people is authenticity. And it's very obvious when people aren't being authentic, and it's very obvious when they are. And I think kind of like how we began the show, or talking about like the musician there that did the interlude. To be truly authentic with yourself, I think is what the world needs. But yeah, we brought it up too, though, that the ideal goal is that you don't have to blow up everything like I did. You don't have to lose relationships, lose jobs, like lose houses, lose all your money. It can just be take the lessons learned and apply them now. So you don't have to go through the divorce. You don't have to tell your job to, your boss to go fuck off. But if you can take the time for yourself, put yourself first, know yourself, learn to love yourself. There's some basic things. And actually, if anybody's interested in the conversation we're having now, I'm just finishing up this paper that's kind of goes over the crossroads and of my experiences with DMT, and then what my experience at the Monroe Institute just was. And there's 10 takeaways that I feel as though I got from DMT alone, as well as from the gateway process alone. And together, but it's the same 10 things, and you don't need drugs or the gateway process to get there. And a lot of it is just some basic stuff, but it starts with taking the time to know yourself, to love yourself, to have connection to source, to some just better ways to live life. It's not prescription pills, it's not drowsing it in alcohol, it's not running from all your problems, it's facing them head on.
Totally get it. Wow.
So I was going to say, if anybody wants to hear that summary, I'll be able to email it if anybody's interested. I see you flashing my book there on Amazon. So there is, obviously you can get it on Amazon. There's an audio version in my voice as well, if you like my accent. But I've also been offering this pretty much on every podcast that I go on. If anybody wants a free copy, I can send a PDF copy very easily through email. So that way you have easy access to the recipes. But probably more importantly, if my story can help somebody have a different perspective on their dark place, if you it may help somebody, I'm not trying to make a shitload. I'll make my money in a different way. If my story can get out and help somebody, I'll be more than happy to send them a free copy of the book. So,
thank you for that.
My email is available and accessible. I can give it to you, or you have it. Share it, and
I'll be
more than happy to give it out if anybody wants it.
So Yes, what Adam's just said. If you want to, you can either contact
I mean,
myself
buy
or
it,
Adam.
please, and give a good review.
Yeah.
But if you want to buy it and get a free copy, no. But I've had people truly reach out and say, "Listen, man, I'm down in the dumps. I'm fucking broke. I'd really like to hear your story." And I've mailed out copies. I've met with people before, and had a joint walk in the woods to talk about life before, because it's what helped them. And now we're friends. Like my buddy Chris, he'll be a friend for life.
Oh,
There you go, man.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean it, like, honestly,
I know.
if I can help you do anything, and man, if I ever see you and I can give you a hug and say, I'm happy to be alive because now I'm standing in front of you, and fuck, man, like, this is a beautiful planet to be here standing together. If my words can give you a smile, and I've seen it give you a smile for the last 2 hours, so that alone is fucking worth it. And you know what? If it helps you in any way, then that's a blessing.
Definitely, 100%, billion%.
And I'm glad Brandon hooked us up. He's connected with so many cool people. So shout out to Brandon again.
Shout out to Brandon.
And Mary. Don't forget
Brandon.
Mary.
And Mary. And Doran.
She's awesome.
There's two people that are good at hooking people up. Is Brandon and Al Sansariga. I don't know if you know
shout out to Al. Always shout out to Al.
Yeah.
Well, if as you can clearly see, yes, I have a book, and that's kind of been how I've been opening doors and trying to get into conversations. But the true conversation is what we've been talking about. How do we put all this shit in perspective? How do we help people? How do we, ideally not go into the same shit I've gone through? But if you know anybody that I can spread the message to, any shows, anybody, I'm right. As of a couple of years ago, I was the guy that no one knew, just some random obscure dude from Rhode Island who, what the fuck? So this is all new to me. I'm still trying to get out there. So.
Yeah.
Any help with that or any spreading of the message is definitely appreciated.
I can send some people your way and vice versa. if
again, maybe they need DMT more than I need, but
I know a lot of people.
Maybe that's it too. But... I could be like the fairy.
DMT fairy.
DMT glitter fairy. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm excited to just be.
You get DMT.
Yeah.
Just to be excited to be in the space of elevated consciousness, of knowing that there is something more, that we are way more than our body, and that there's some beautiful magic out there to be explored. And fuck, don't squander it with depression, anxiety, shit. No. Don't waste it being hungover. Certainly don't waste it being angry at your loved ones. And if life can really be an awesome place to explore this weird shit with. And around and through part of.
Yeah, definitely. It is truly that. But do go out and buy this book. I was very lucky to get a copy from Adam himself. This is where we're at, and it is. I didn't start at the front. I just opened it in the middle and started reading. Then I went to some at the back and then some at the front. And now I'm just going to start at the beginning and read it through like you should have. But anyway.
And now I know page 56 is like maybe I should get like shirts made up with just like page 56 or something.
Yeah, page 56.
I gotta get a copy. Then I gotta get Adam to sign mine.
Well, so honestly, I'd be more than happy to send you a copy, and you're obviously right, just a couple states over. The mailman that I use is very easy, very friendly, and it costs me basically nothing to send a book. So I'd be more than happy to, and I'd be more than happy to address it to you if you'd like. Just email me the address, or email me whatever the best place to send it to.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll send your email to Nicole in a moment. So
it's all about spreading the message because it's fun, creative stories, and and believe me, I'd love to sit around the campfire and just talk shit about all the fun stuff. But the truth is I've had so many people come to me with the same pain and darkness in their eyes to say, I don't know how the fuck to find happiness. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I don't know if I want to make it, and not making any rash decisions. And when I see it, it's clear as day when people are in that same space. And, I know and maybe a perfect way to end the podcast and how I ended the book is, the last chapter is love thy neighbor. And it's really, really important to be that person for somebody else to lean on, to be that neighbor that can help somebody. And more importantly, just always know that you may need that shoulder to lean on at some point as well. And it's a beautiful way to kind of live life. But especially with the holidays coming up, if you love somebody, tell them you love them. If you see somebody that's that looks down, don't just brush it off. Ask if they want to talk about something. And you know, and that's I think what I'm noticing is if you show rawness and authenticity, and you show that you're willing to actually listen, people are all the more willing to open up, and people want to share, and people need help. And if you can be that strength where people can lean on, it's an awesome feeling. But people need it right now. I know I did.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Absolutely love this podcast. It's got to be.
You're welcome. It's fun. And we didn't even get into any of the weird shit. We didn't get into the woo hippie dippy. We didn't get into aliens. We didn't get into Monroe.
But you know what that means, don't you?
Yeah.
That means he's got to come back.
Yeah.
This is so not drinking alcohol anymore. Not doing, like, really focusing on how I direct my energy intentionally. I love doing stuff like this. You know, on a Friday night, this is exactly how I like to spend myself, because I get to learn, I get to interact. You've given me several data points that I can kind of put into my kind of pipe and smoke it. And no, I love doing this type of shit. Really. So I have I'm writing the next book that's going to be more philosophical, more about the integration, and it'll put a lot of this into not an easy, but a digestible kind of way that I think will be fun. So maybe come beginning of spring. Actually, I don't know, not the back of the house shit, but I may be collaborating with Brandon on that one. So he started that new publishing company, and I don't know. I don't know if if I trust him enough, but we may be collaborating on the next field guide.
He's good.
So yeah. So all this shit will be happening for sure.
Excellent. Awesome. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of the show.
But there will be a part 2.
There will definitely be a part 2.
Adam's willing to come back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and this is going out on podcast player. So whatever podcast you listen to, you can get up to date and just drive around, tidy your house, do whatever, and listen on podcast if you don't want to watch on YouTube.
Microdose some shrooms and drive around.
Yeah, and just don't get caught. You'll be fine.
Fuck it.
Yeah. So, and if you do, just blame it all on Nicole Trivatone of New York State. There you go.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a pleasure meeting you both, and I look forward to conversing again for sure.
Definitely. Right. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Thank you, Darren, for the music. Thank you, Og, for doing the moderating. Joanne, for being a moderator and doing some moderating. And Nicole for co-hosting. And Adam for being an amazing, awesome guest.
And Andy for hosting everything you do.
Thank you. And your beautiful smile. You know, as the importance of, you have a great, beautiful, radiating smile. So thank you for sharing it, honestly. And I say that sincerely. Like, that's exactly what the world needs more of. So add you to the list. Me, you, Brandon, Nicole, Wall, you keep smiling.
Oh, definitely. Right. So we are back next Wednesday we're back to doing our eerie encounters. So it'll be myself, Nicole, and Daryl. And we're going to be talking about dragons. It's only took 4 months to get to this subject.
And you had Mark Ali on the other day. What a fucking cool guy he is, huh?
Oh,
he's become a new friend of mine. He's an awesome dude.
He's such a top guy.
Yeah, he's a lot in that brain to unfold.
Yeah, I actually got to meet him last February this year. He was at one of the Awakening things.
Yeah, he's on my list of people to hang out with.
Yeah, he's such a top guy. So we have got, and this is Nicole's booking, The Shaman and the Showman on Friday.
Oh, hell
that is, I know nothing else. So one's a shaman, one's a magician type. Yeah, is that correct?
No, he's just a showman. A shaman and a showman.
Oh, he's a magician.
No.
I'm not impressed now. No, I'm only messing. No, it'd be good.
I tried to get you to book the magician. You didn't book the magician. You said no to the magician.
No, I didn't, because you didn't give me details.
All right, I'm going to book the magician.
Can't book someone. Just guess who's going to be. Killer.
I sent you the link. I'm going to book the magician.
Book the magician.
I love the magician.
Tons of Fridays are open.
All right, I'm going to book the magician.
We're going to go because Adam's like, what the hell is going on now? I need some DMT. Right. So yeah, so that's what we've got. On the 20th of December is our Christmas special, but there's going to be a slight twist to everything else that I've already told you. But I'm not telling anyone until the day. So on that note, have a wonderful weekend. We'll be back on Wednesday with Eerie Encounters, and then Friday with Nicole's guests. Not a magician, by the way, but can't have everything, can you? So have fun.
I'll get you a magician.
Have fun, and and happy Thanksgiving to all you guys in the US. Nearly forgot. I meant to do it at the beginning. I do apologize. So we'll see you Wednesday. So take care, everyone, and goodbye. See you all soon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.